Good morning, everyone. My name is Scott Morris. Welcome back to another one of our GTS Retailer to Publisher webinars. I'm really excited today. We have Amanda Irvin, who is the Pixie Peddler. That is her official title. It's really marketing, but she is the Pixie Peddler for Game Brewer. You may or may not have heard of Game Brewer before. They are a European company that is based over in Europe, and they sell their games worldwide. Amanda is here in the United States. She's actually in the Pacific Northwest. She has an extremely unique perspective on both what we're going to talk about today and just everything in general, because she's not only part of the publishing side of our world, she's also part of the retail side of our world. She has experience with a wonderful store called Blue Highway Games up in the Pacific Northwest, which is one of my favorite stores to visit and just a super cool looking store overall. It's got like this upstairs thing and downstairs thing, and it's really, really cool stuff. So what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about a couple of new releases. There is a new release called Paris, which is coming up from Game Brewer, and then there is a game that was just recently released called Fuji Koro. We're going to talk in general about the company, talk a little bit about some of their other releases that are available and that are going to be coming out soon, and just overall allow everyone to ask any kind of questions you may have. As I always remind everybody, everything is on the table. You're welcome to ask any kind of questions you like. To do that, it's really simple. You just hover over your video window, and at the very bottom, you'll see a chat bubble. When you pop open that chat bubble, you can send a message to either all the panelists, which are myself and Amanda, or you can send it to all the panelists and the attendees, so all the other retailers can see your questions as well. Again, Amanda, you don't have to worry about that. I'll manage that. If a question comes up, I'll work it into the discussion. Sometimes they're real simple, like how many are in a case and things like that, and we'll answer those in chat. But if it's anything more involved, we'll ask you and get you involved on that one, which is good. So with that, though, I'm going to take my face that was made for radio. I'm going to let it shut up, and I'm going to let Amanda take the floor because she's got some awesome stuff to talk to you about. So Amanda, again, thank you for joining. The floor is all yours.
So, hi, nice to meet all of you. The first thing I will say is, unfortunately, I live above a Trader Joe's, and you may hear the dump truck that is now emptying all of their garbage and recycling, which hopefully will only be about 5 minutes, but I apologize. It's erratic throughout the day, so I'm always unlucky. It happens whenever I'm trying to do Azul or something.
Totally okay.
Been doing some live stream for Twitch for Blue Highway, and it happens every single time in the middle, and I'm like, really? It hasn't been like 4 hours. All right, so hopefully you can hear me over that. Yes, so I live in Seattle. I work for Blue Highway Games. I've been the buyer there for 6 years. I was the manager for about 10. And I switched to doing part-time with Blue Highway and doing Game Brewer about a year ago, so fall 2019. And I just wanted to kind of transition into another aspect of the industry, and Game Brewer was looking for somebody to work in the States and try to work more with people like GTS and go to conventions, and then 2020 happened. So it's been a little bit of a strange year to try to be the person to get to know retailers in the States, as I just haven't been able to make those connections. So this is, thank you very much, GTS, for letting us, me be here today to talk about Game Brewer. So I have a bit of a PowerPoint presentation to share for you, but hopefully it won't be too dry. I'll talk through it, and I'll skim over the bits that are maybe a little less relevant, but we're going to really focus on Fuji Koro and Paris, kind of go into detail on those two as mentioned. So let me see if I can get this screen shared here for you. All right, so hopefully you are seeing the logo nice and big on your screens. Excellent. And so Game Brewer, we are a company oh, I don't know if you can hear this, but it's a video. 2 seconds, it's like 30 seconds. No, I can't even see it.
There is an option actually, Amanda, when you click on the share screen, you can share, it should give you the option to share with sound. So if you play a video, then the sound will come through to everybody. But if not, worst case scenario, we can get the link to the video out to everyone.
It's, I forgot it was even on there. It's just the logo animation. So moving beyond that, Game Brewer is based in Turnhout, which is way up by the Netherlands in Belgium. So they are a Dutch speaking, Flemish speaking board game publisher, and they've been operating since about 2017. It's a beautiful town, and I wish I could live there instead of Seattle. So brief history, they had a few games they released in Europe just on their own, something very Dutch. So it's kind of a little tiny war game before moving on to a game designed from one of the owners of Game Brewer called Pixie Queen that never made it over to the States. It's actually a fun worker placement game. And then some things that you may recognize like Chimera Station, which was brought over by TMG to the States. And then some of their bigger titles, such as Gentis and Gugong, which are available currently at GTS through TMG. So not something Gamebrewer released directly in the States, but then we sort of split off in 2019 and wanted to start releasing on our own here in the States. And the first one we brought over was a hit from Europe. So it did really well in Europe, in European stores for, I think it came out 2018. And it's called Festo. And this is available at GTS now, something that you can order. It's a lightweight kind of bidding auction game for cooking, a feast for ogres and trolls and wizards, and you're collecting resources to try to make certain dishes. So set collecting of those colored cubes, bidding with your meeples, and trying to vie for position. If you don't win, you get kind of a special action that allows you to mitigate the results. So it is not, it's the opposite of cooperative. It's not take that or stab your neighbor in the back entirely, but you can kind of mess with your opponents. So it's a little bit older family game. And that is Festo. Yeah, just some details here. It is retails at $40 and you can get it wholesale GTS website for $22. All right, so one of the older games that's out now that I wanted to spend a little more time going through is Fuji Koro. So Fuji Koro is a, it's a mix between a Euro and kind of an Amera trash kind of game. It's both fighting monsters, dragons specifically, as well as gathering resources and exploring tiles on the mountain. So it comes with a ton of stuff in the box. With the punch boards, you're going to be creating 3D temples. It's got lava tiles and player boards, and I've broken that out here so you can get a kind of a closer look. Oh, sorry. Well, here it is out on the table, fully set up in the retail edition. If you look online, there was a deluxe version that we did, but the retail edition has the full gameplay. It just doesn't got the player mat underneath, but it has a modular board setup. So you start out just blank with that kind of, you see that inside of the circle are actually all those little player markers. And from there, players will be exploring out. So it's a great one to set up in store. We had it out at Blue Highway. It's very three-dimensional, tactile. It's hard to convey here how the tiles connect, but I have a big tile here for you to take a look at. Unfortunately, I didn't have a 3D rendering of this, but it's just the tile itself, when it's cut out, those little notches actually interlock with all the other tiles around it. So it spreads out from the center, completely interlocking so they don't shift around or move. And when you reach the edge, that round circular edge of the board, it snaps into those, holding them in place. And players are going to kind of move around trying to explore these tiles. There'll be different things on the tiles, the resources, the little brown and silver markings there indicate the resources they would get to collect from the player pool. Sometimes you're going to be encountering monks or other players, pieces that you want to collect your own in order to get scrolls, and then dragons are also going to appear. So if it has a dragon symbol on it, that means a dragon will appear. So you don't know what's going to happen. The board is ever growing and you're collecting little wooden cubes. Now what you do with those cubes is you have this player board that has sort of a Minecraft element feel to it, which I think is fantastic, because you're actually going to take those cubes and craft them into the shape of whatever weapon you want. The strength of the weapon and helmet and sandals, it depends on what materials you use. So wood isn't as strong as steel, and steel isn't as strong as dragon's teeth, which you get when you fight dragons. And once you've crafted your weapon, when you go fight those dragons, you're actually going to get the dice that correspond exactly to the cubes that are on that on your player board. So if I have 3 wooden cubes and 5 steel cubes and 1 dragon's tooth, I would get 3 brown die, 5 silver die, and 1 white die to attack that dragon. So it directly correlates to how you're going after and fighting the dragons. The helmets are your damage, your protection against the dragons attacking you. So again, you want to have steel helmets rather than wooden helmets. And the sandals help as the mountain, Mount Fuji, starts to erupt and fills the board with lava. So it is very interactive. It has a lot going on, but really at the top of your board there, you can see really, you can explore a tile, you can move around and walk around, do some exploring, or you can craft some things. Well, you craft things on your board, but you can gather the resources that are out on the table. And then if you can make helmets or sandals or weapons that are in certain patterns on your board, you're also going to get scrolls, cards that are going to help give you extra things to do on your player board, extra actions that get tucked into the top of your board, extra movement, always getting a resource, some points. What drives this game forward is as you fight dragons and build scrolls and gather points, you're working towards the end game marker. When somebody hits 30 points, which doesn't take all that long depending on how many players you're playing with, the end game starts to cascade and, oh, my bad, sorry. Oh, these are scrolls, other things that would also help you mitigate the game, dragons. Did bring out some dragons here. So yes, before endgame, you're going to be fighting all these dragons. They have different strengths, hit points. They're going to have their own player board that you're going to mark these on, and all the way up into the legendary dragon, which is a much bigger, stronger dragon, and it's very hard to beat on your own. So even though this can be played competitively or cooperatively, even when you're playing fully competitively, you still want to work with other players, have people decide, okay, we're both, or 3 of us are going to go after this legendary dragon. You will all reap the rewards, but you would also all reap the attack that would come from the dragon in that round. So it's sort of making alliances, breaking alliances, trying to gather those points to get through the end of the game. But you can play entirely cooperatively. So you're all working as a unit from the beginning to the end. That one is hard because the dragons themselves have their own movement and will start coming after you, versus the competitive mode, they just sort of sit on the rocks and you have to go after them. But in the competitive mode, they chase you down. So players have tokens. The wooden dragons will stand up on the board, as well as the wooden the tokens of the samurai. And it's kind of a mid-game. I guess they've only just started there, building out from the center. It takes about an hour and a half to 3 hours, depending on how many people. It goes up to 6. I think 4 is optimal if you want to tell your customers, unless you're playing cooperatively, then more, it may be the merrier, but you'll all still die really quickly until you get better at fighting these dragons.
Yeah,
So yeah.
This is a game that was, I got my hands on the deluxe copy of it, and I was able to play with my kids. Both my kids, one is 12 and one is 14 now. They are huge Minecraft kids. They love Minecraft. And when they sat down and saw the Minecraft aspect of the game, they were like immediately hooked. Like it didn't matter what we were about to tell them, what was going to happen. They were just hooked on that piece of it. And I remember my 14-year-old, when we were done, he said, so this is really cool. He goes, this is like Minecraft with dungeon delving and a little bit of, I don't have to be faster than the bear. I just have to be faster than you. And I was like, yeah, because there's an aspect of trying to escape Mount Fuji before it blows up and there's lava everywhere. And that can happen really quick.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, we had a lot of fun with this game. And it's such a unique art style, right? That kind of blocky, almost like what my son actually just noticed it on, we were talking the other day, and he's talking about the design of the cover and everything, and he said this kind of feels and looks like the new Minecraft Dungeons a little bit, that the new video game that just came out. So that was really cool as well.
Yeah, it did really well for us at Essen 2019 and in retail over there in Europe. So we're hoping people catch on to it here. It's a good one. It's a big box. It's not small. It's bigger than a Dominion box. It's bigger than a Ticket Drive box, but deeper. So it's the same size on your shelf front facing, but side facing, it takes up a little bit more space. But
There was a question that just came in. I think I know the answer to it, but I'll let you answer it. They wanted to know, one of the retailers asked, I'm sorry if I missed it, but can the game be played solo as well? And I'm presuming the answer is yes, since it's cooperative.
yes, with the so 1 to 6 players. I actually haven't tried the solo mode. I've done like every other player count.
Mhm.
But yes, yeah. It's a 1 players. It retails at $89.99 on the GTS website. Is $49.50 for y'all, and yeah. So Koro. So that's out now. It's one you can get in. I think it deserves a little holiday resurgence here this year, since it was supposed to be our convention circuit showcase 2020, but it deserves a little more attention.
And just so any retailers know, most of these games we try to keep stocked in Washington, St. Louis, and Florida warehouses. So if you don't see them in a local warehouse like a Michigan or an Arizona or a New York or anything like that, definitely check one of the other warehouses. And if for any reason you don't see it there, let us know. You can let me know, or you can let your sales rep know. These are games that are readily available from Game Brewer, and we can get them really, really easy and get them restocked. So not a problem.
Great. So now we're going to just do a brief look at the future. I'll talk mostly about Paris, but I want to mention Panjun. I don't know how many of you carried Gugong, which is one of my favorite Euro games from the past few years. It's actually why I started working for Game Brewer, because I fell in love with Gugong and had been talking with them as a retailer, Blue Highway, about getting it in our shop before it was released in the States, because it's Andreas Steding, the guy who did which is my all-time favorite game. It's not as good as Hansa, but it's close. And so if you haven't played Gugong, you should try it out. And the expansion is coming out, so I'm very excited. GTS has picked up some of these retail expansions. It is basically 4 modules that you can add on to the base game. It's supposed to be out soon. The Kickstarter fulfillment of these has slowed it down a little bit, but it will be in the warehouses of GTS shortly, and I'm looking forward to that. Its wholesale is just $19.25, and it retails at $34.99. And then, a quick little look at the components in the box. Some of it changes up the cards of the original game. 2 of the modules add in different, if you're familiar with the game, it's kind of games. It adds in 2 new little mini games, and the other one changes up the center track, which is giving gifts to the Emperor, which you have to do in the base game in order to even win. If you don't make it to the Emperor, you can't win. This one gives you options on that track, whether you kind of go faster or slower, picking up different benefits on either side. So that's just Panjun. And now let's talk about Paris. So Paris is a new game coming out by Wolfgang Kramer and Michael Kiesling. And their names are very well known in Europe, and some of you retailers that do more of the Euroboard gaming should recognize their names. They're kind of godfathers in the Euro gaming world. We found at Gamma, the one show we made it to this year, that a lot of Americans don't know Wolfgang Kramer, Michael Kiesling, but they did Tikal and Mexica, like the Mass Trilogy, Palaces of Carrara on their own. They've done a whole host of games, Princes of Florence from Wolfgang Kramer. I could go on. Most of my shelves are games by these 2 gentlemen, and they make very interesting, classic feeling, easy to explain, but kind of depth of play here. So this is what the board's going to look like, fully out on a table. It is round. There, it doesn't fold out, but the districts around the center Arc de Triomphe are like they snap in with the puzzle, and then the track on the outside just kind of sits in some slots to keep them from moving around, which I think is well done. And you are going to have hidden information behind player screens. And it's a worker placement, a key placement. So you'll place a key to either get money or to buy a building. And the buildings give you strength in the different districts to try to get area control, or to have access to the resources or the points and the track on the edge. So I'm going to dive a bit deeper here. That's the centerpiece. It is printed on the board, so line of sight isn't hindered if people want to take it off. It's that's a perspective picture that makes it look really huge, but it's just in the middle. You can kind of see around it. And then it has these fabulous district tiles that were designed, art by Andreas Rasch. And they're like individual little mini paintings of Paris. And the game starts without any of them on the board. At the beginning of each player's turn, they're just going to turn over one from a pile of 3, knowing which district, but not which number. And they're going to add those tiles. So by the end of about halfway through the game, it will be completely populated with these little Parisian book stands and restaurants and hotels. And I mean, they're really, I pulled one up big because they're really, each one's like a little painting, and I think they're adorable. So there's quite a few of those buildings, and I have a bigger picture here. So you can, this is a prototype picture, but so the building, they're going to go around the outside. There's always either a star, a prestige point marker, or a resource. When you just place the building, that's it. It doesn't belong to you. You're just populating the board. But then on your turn, you're going to take a key and add it to the board. You can't add directly to a building. It has to first go on to one of the banks, the money. You're going to place the key into a district, take the money for that district. It varies in the amount. And then in a future turn, if you've already placed a key in a district, you can move that key from the bank to any of the buildings in the district. You can also move from a lower number building to a higher number building, increasing your strength in that area. If I moved from the 2 to the 8, instead of paying the full 8, I would actually only have to pay the difference, and I'd pay 6. So you can kind of start to move your way up, collecting the resources. When you buy the building, you get to get the first person to do so will collect the resource. Now the resources and the prestige tokens are both playing towards, so those are the resources, wood, granite, and gold, and the prestige tokens for the landmark buildings, which these are not attached to any one district, and they are 6 recognizable landmarks from around Paris. You'll need to exchange the resources to build the landmarks, but then you can exchange prestige tokens that are represented on the tile for points in game. So if I had 3 gold bars and I had 3 gold prestige tokens, I would want to try to buy the Eiffel Tower, because then I could get a total of 15 points. But it's up to the players how many they exchange in. No more than 3. You don't have to do all 3 in order, but it's how many you can earn. And so those kind of go on the tops of districts. There can be more than 1. At the end of the game, if a district has had 4 or more keys, a player will be able to add in that little empty space there in the middle some points. I guess I forgot to put a picture in there of that, but they'll change the amount of points that each district is worth. Some will actually not even get any by the end of the game. So maybe you were working in a district, you got some good resources, but you don't even score for it from the end. That's where this other kind of side game comes into play, which is the bonus tracker on the outside. These bonus tiles, they go from 1 to 30. They're always going to be in the same order around the edge. And whenever you go on a 1, 2, or 3 building, you are allowed to also move along the bonus track with, that's what there's those little top-hatted gentlemen on the outside there. It is a circle, and you can go around the circle 1 time, and you can move as far as you want. So it's sort of, you could go from 1 to 30, but then you're done. Every time you go on it, you wouldn't be allowed to move. So it's your choice how far you go, which space you're going to go on. Do you want to jump to get a special bonus that your opponent would really benefit from, but you'd miss some things on the way there? And it allows you to get extra points in game. Very tactical kind of positioning, like when you have a key on certain number of buildings, and then maybe you get another one where once you want a different number, so you'd have to upgrade all your keys over your turns. So it's you place a key and you either get money or you buy a building, and that's pretty much the whole game. But it is going to be available at GTS, and you can pre-order it. It is a November 1st release, and we're really hoping to stick to that. It was to be an Essen release, so we're gonna do a lot of promotion at Spiel Digital this year. And you should be able to get it in your shops for the holidays. I think it's going to be the big Euro game for the year. I really do. It's everybody we have showed this to or played has been like, wow, this is a really good game, because it's just easy to play, easy to teach. It's beautiful. It has kind of that Ticket to Ride appeal. So I think it's for people in the store that have played Ticket to Ride and Carcassonne and Catan, and they're like, okay, so what's next? Because it's not overly hard, but it's not super gateway. It's not a Splendor, it's not an Azul, it's not going to be the generic non-themed but good strategy game. It's a little more like those Ticket to Rides and just a step beyond. Retails at $49, and you can get it at GTS $26.95. And yeah, street date is November 1st, and we really production's on track. We've got the ship booked, and it should be setting sail soon with the copies, so it should be on track.
So there was a question that came up, and this is a really good one because we actually just started our partnership with Game Brewer recently, and there was a question that came up around bundles or demo programs. So GTS does have a formal demo program, but Game Brewer is not part of that yet. That's something we can obviously talk about offline and get that worked out. But at the current moment, how would, Amanda, if someone wanted to get a demo for their store, is that something they can contact you on, or is that something they should contact Tyson about, or how does that work?
I mean, I think ultimately I should probably talk with you and try to get something worked out just to do it direct, because I know that as a retailer myself, it's much easier if you can just get that through your distributor.
Sure.
Until that gets worked out, of course, you can email me. I'll see if we can do something in the interim, but probably by November 1st, we hopefully will have something worked out there for you for that.
Awesome.
But yes, Tyson will also have to be involved in that conversation. I can't make those calls. So
that's okay.
as far as I'm concerned, of course, I, as a retailer and a publisher, want to get this game on your tables, because once people see those district pieces and just the game out on the table in the Arc de Triomphe, it's just a fantastic table presence.
Yeah. I think the nice thing about the game like this is that you're taking a game that very easily, from a Euro standpoint, could have been a very processized type thing, if that makes sense. But you've done a wonderful job with, just having a round board is very unique, right? Having something that separates itself from the traditional square board, but then having all the three-dimensional pieces, having the player screens be, kind of the buildings and the cities, and then having that Arc de Triomphe as a 3D thing is really unique. Plus just the design, that kind of flower-like design almost of the roads. If anyone's ever been to Paris and you've been to the Arc de Triomphe, that is how the roads are set up and how everything kind of circles around that. It gets a little trafficky and a little crazy. But another thing, I had someone just ask me on Facebook Messenger, yes, Michael Kiesling is the designer of Azul. So if you're familiar with that, that's where you've heard that name from. So someone sent me a note going, I know that name. How do I know that name? And I'm like, this is why. So, yep. So Michael and Wolfgang are two very, very, very talented designers, and they've done a really good job. So we're looking forward to this.
Yeah, it has a lot of replayability because it's just so tactical. There's different ways. You can score points and win the game by going for those area control. You can score points by doing really well only on the bonus track, and you can do well a mixture of both, going back and forth. And it's just I like replayability in my Euros because it's just things you'd want to think about. How could I do this differently? Try it again. But then if somebody knows what you're doing, they can thwart it. And so I really am excited about Paris for sure.
Awesome.
Okay, so then I think I just got a little bit of information to pass on to you. Our websites, gamebrewer.com. We're on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We're on Instagram. You can follow us there. Put up videos, how-tos. We've done some, these games are on Tabletopia, and I'm happy to set up times to kind of go through and do instructional how-to plays of Paris and Festo. Fujikoro is not on there. It was a little bit of a virtual nightmare, but the other ones were easy to implement. And so this time, not being able to go into stores and show people, we're definitely trying to set up times to kind of even just take a few minutes to walk you through it. And we do that for general customers as well, so follow us there. And you can email me with any questions. It's just my name, Amanda@gamebrewer.com. And you're welcome to phone me if you want to copy that down. So we're bringing board games, just like Belgium has brought chocolate and beer. If you ever get a chance to go to Spiel over in Essen, they set up a bar every year in one of the halls and serve Belgian beer on tap. And we're sort of a meeting hub for everybody in Essen and along with our games. So they're very proud of their board games and their beer.
This is if you can get to the booth. I have been to Essen many times, and there are times where you cannot get through the crowd to get to that booth because there's so much people waiting to get the beer, right?
True.
So it's
True.
good stuff. That is good stuff. That is awesome. Well, Amanda, thank you. This is really good information. Julio just made a comment. He said, "I love your games library in the background." Yeah, I feel like we're like two sides of a coin. Amanda has this beautiful backdrop of all these awesome games, and I have a blank slate. So I'm working on that. We just changed houses and are working on the office and all that fun stuff. So we'll get that squared away. But yeah, definitely have a very good collection of games behind you there. There's been no additional questions that have come in, but you did just pop in all of your contact information and everything like that. I am going to real quick put in your email address into chat so that people have that and they can contact you if they have any questions. Again, Amanda is here in the US while Game Brewer is based in Europe. She is here in the US, so really easy to be able to get a hold of if you have any questions. I'll circle up with Tyson and with yourself afterwards about the demo program and just make sure. I know we had talked to Misha about that, but I think it just kind of over the course of setting things up and getting everything coordinated for this kind of got lost in the shuffle. So we'll get that squared away for everybody. But yeah, really do appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us, and really appreciate you running a great store out there as well with Blue Highway. That's really good stuff. So retailers, as always, thank you very much. Really do appreciate the time. I know everything is crazy right now, and even when we only have maybe one or two of these a week, it's still kind of hard to find time to get here, but really do appreciate you taking the time to come and join us, and hope the information was valuable and helpful for you. So if you got any questions, feel free to reach out to me always. My email is smorris@gtsdistribution.com. You can also contact your sales rep. Either way is fine. But until we see you next time, Amanda, thank you so much for joining, and I hope everyone has a great week in your stores. Take care.